recording. All right, now we're cooking with gas. Hang on,
Now
one more
we're
person.
recording. So welcome to the special services meeting again. Here is our agenda. We are going to go over these items that you should have received an email earlier this week. So here are some of the things that we're going to talk about this first hour at the special services refresh section. So Bethany is going to take it away and talk for what seems like forever, and then you'll hear from me later.
Well, you know what's funny is, hang on a minute, because I have the wrong slideshow up. So we are in Syncal, so I need to switch. Sorry, guys. And now we're cooking with gas. All right, geez, always so much to do. Thank you, Leslie.
That's a much shorter list.
And I was like, I know it's not as in depth. Thank you, Leslie. Okay. So those that are on special services, this will officially be the last special services roundtable that I do. So this is going to be the last confusion that we're going to have. Okay. So come this fall, we are just going to do a special services meeting. We will, at the end of that, do anybody who's still on special services refresh, just go over things if we need to. But for the most part, in the fall, it'll be 9 o'clock. This is it. So I thought about getting cupcakes, but then I thought that might be rude. Okay, so okay. First thing we're going to talk about is the release that happened late January. It was actually early February. Most of these things are already in play for you guys, so this is nothing new for you. The first thing that we wanted to talk about is on the student profile, the ability to sort completed docs. So that was something that came into play that was awesome. Another thing was that they updated the all changes saved. So they did some things to help with saving, made me very nervous. Seems like it's going okay. Okay. I do have a ticket right now with some saving issue, but we haven't got to the bottom of it. I don't think it's a defect. I just think it's a program and how it overwrites itself and does its thing. Okay. So if you have users that are still having problems with saving, you're more than welcome to submit a ticket to us. If you do, we'll let development know, that kind of thing. But they did do some saving things. The next thing is they must, you must use the calendar. When you do a document search, if you're going to search for a range, you got to hit the calendar. You can't type in the dates anymore. I always clear that. So I just think that's better that way. That's just my personal opinion. Okay, so that was another thing that came through. And then the final thing on this page that came through was in the student's document screen, you can see the banks. So there's a banks tab now. You can hover over and kind of see some tools, tips with that on the student's document screen. Okay, so that's new. We also had the child outcome summary form. That was one of those things that was added to the system. It was a requirement that it gets added. It's functional. You guys should definitely use it. Once you do that, then of course there's some information you're going to need off of that. So those child outcome summary reports, you're going to need to go ahead and make sure that you have that information, because that stuff is going to have to be reported in SIS. And then of course, it'll go to EMIS. Okay. So if you guys have any questions about that, please let us know. We also were able to get the speech and language services. That field had been removed with an error message, but they fixed that, thank goodness, because there were a lot of those errors coming out. And then, like I said, in January, those were fixed, which was fantastic. Things that were also taken care of were district banks. Previously, when you had a district bank item that was selected for editing, the delete button displayed, even though they didn't have access to do that. So that was fixed. When you were creating a progress report for a WEP, it would give you a message you're unable to create, but now that has been fixed. I'm gonna hit Mint. Autosave, like I said, they said it again. They upgraded some functionality with that, so that was very helpful. And then specially designed instruction, when you were filling that out, it would time out occasionally. So that was something that they resolved on how it worked. And then the LRE, the transition piece for preschool with the child to kindergarten box was selected. It wouldn't include it in the preview, and now it does. Okay, so 24.4 was a big release for us. And it was good, and I think we're in a good spot with that, okay, for SPS. But the next thing I want to talk about is the defects. There are 5 defects on the defects report list. These 5 defects, next to them say push ready. So I believe that these might be fixed in the June 25 update. Okay, and that's very important because the June 25 update will be the last update for the program. Okay, so with that, they have, just some SPS users are experiencing saving issues again, text appears occasionally, that's in the middle. Some documents completing with a light gray background, there's just some formatting things, nothing crazy or anything like that. Okay, so these are currently the defects that are in SPS refresh. And like I said, they look like they might be fixed, so I'm kind of hopeful that they are. Okay, to not waste any time, let's talk about that beautiful email we got about a week and a half ago, maybe 10 days ago or so. So basically what happened is the Department of Education has decided it's time to revise the forms. With this being said, this is my fault. I accept full responsibility for the update of the forms because I knew once we got everybody to same goal, I was going to be eating bonbons, and I'm not going to be eating bonbons now. So once we get this information from them, we can start implementing trainings and things like that. But the first thing I want to make sure that everybody's very clear about is there is no timeline for this to be a required forms to be used. They are currently at the feedback stage. Once the feedback stage is done, which I believe is the 23rd of May, then they'll go to forms review. These people will take the summer to review the forms. Then they will release them and give enough time for programs to update their forms and to do training, which is something that we will offer here at UNM. So the Department of Ed sent out this thing and said, hey, these are the forms if you want to do them. I have stacks of what they're doing. But I thought, you know what, this will be really great because we have a group of wonderful ladies who I think work very well together with the same goal team. And I sent an email to them and said, hey, can you 5 meet me on these 5 days? And we will attend the ODE's meeting together. And we did the first meeting on April 24th, which was last Thursday. It was extremely informative. Okay. And by that, all I mean is I think they had 12 rooms that we broke into. And there were approximately 10 people in each room. So there was about 120 people on the call. We were one group with 5 of us in the room. A lot of different opinions on the forms and the changes. And we then, as a group, submitted requests for that. But the next stage after we go through these, listen to the different changes, do our opinions, listen to everybody else's opinions, is we as a group are going to submit a survey on May 23rd. So we're going to submit that survey from the unit. Okay. If you have anybody that has any opinions on these forms, please feel free to email me. I will add them to the list, take them to our reps, and we will make sure that your opinion gets counted, okay? Once we're done at the fall 2025 roundtable, which I explained, we will go over what we did with the forms, what we submitted on our survey, what things are looking like, and I'll give you guys an update. There were a couple changes that might affect EMIS a little bit, so that might slow the roll of these forms. I'm very hopeful that these are not going to be required forms until the spring of 2026. That's my hope. We're all hoping, okay? But what I do want to talk about real quick is going through the forms and what forms they're looking at changing. Like I said, this is on the OD's website, so you guys can go see this at any time. Some of the verbiage gets a little confusing, and that's what we did as a group. But basically, they are looking at changing the PRO1 form. This is not the form they're going to be using, so please do not share this with your users and tell them to get ready. We have plenty of time, like I said, but the PRO1 is going to be updated. They want to definitely add the school district, but they moved that from another form to this form, okay? Nope, those aren't yours. Yeah, she printed that off. I'll get you some right after the next one, I promise. Okay, thanks. Okay, so now that we have the PRO2, this is the invite. Lots of different verbiage additions, lots of things are taking away from the invite. Okay, they did change it to parent and student invitation. This is a group of forms of PRO1s, PRO1, PRO2s, and the PRO3, I believe that is just one day of discussions that they have slotted for 2 hours. Our first meeting was for 4 hours, and that was the IEP and the ETR. Oh, okay, so now the forms are getting broke out. This is the manifestation determination that they're looking at modifying. I do not believe all this yellow verbiage is going to stay. Everybody was very opinionated about less is more and making sure that the information was more precise. So once we get through these forms, we'll start looking at it. We did talk about the PRO4, the ETR package. This is something we did go over. Lots of opinions about information that was moved. We did ask them to move the forms. That was something we did ask them to do. We asked them to break a couple things out together, but like I said, once we get everything done, we'll give you guys a list of everything we came up with and where everybody's opinion landed. It was amazing. There were some support people that were there that their opinions were awesome. It was very informative. The next one, of course, is the PRO4 ETR package. These are the changes that they're looking at moving. They're taking that, of course, a lot of that PRO4 out of it for the referral. We ask the referral be separate so that we have the referral and the consent separate, because we feel that it's important that we don't do that referral and it have to be part of the package. It needs to be kind of separate. So the next one I wanted to show you is the ETR, of course. And then you see the parent consent, which is being modified a little bit. Further request. And then also we're continuing on this next slide that has additional information. I popped it on the slide. It might be helpful to see, or like I said, you can go to the OT's website and see these. This eligibility is still section 4, which is great. They put some verbiage in for the eligibility and the signatures. There's a lot of discussion about how that is worded. And then we want to kind of talk about the PRO5 or the IEP. There was a ton of discussion about this. This took over 2 hours. A lot of questions about the additions to the verbiage that are put in there, things that are put away, the tables that are moved. A lot of different things that went into this piece that are here. One of the things that they did that you're going to have a hard time seeing on here is they had district service provider. It's on the bottom right of this slide. And we were like, that is very confusing, because they also had title of person overseeing service, providers of service. And we really feel, and everybody was on the call was very adamant that when writing an IEP, it's not who has hierarchy, who's responsible for the district of, you know, who's going to be the service provider, who's going to oversee that. We don't know where that came from. That was a little bit of a crazy talk. So hopefully that goes away. We'll make sure that's gone. But that it's our opinion that it's gone. If it stays, we'll have to do a training. A lot of these things that we did on the next form that continues on, a lot of these things were like some clarifications that we wrote notes about that we will go over. You know, once this is all done, we'll make sure that we have all those training materials to train everybody. We'll figure out whether or not we're going to do a Zoom, or if we're going to meet together, or you know, we're going to go out to districts, or how we're going to do that once this all rolls out. But this kind of gives you an idea of how these forms went. And then the PRO5, we continue with this IEP, a lot of revisions that you guys can see. Some stuff was not. Children with visual impairments, huge. They want huge changes to that form. And like I said, this part of the meeting was about 2 hours. Like they actually cut us off and we had to move along. The other thing that I want to show you is these other 4 2-hour meetings that we're going to be attending are where they're taking the optional forms and they're now making them not optional, but there's like additional forms or supported forms. So they're renaming them from OP1 to SF1 because, you know, okay. I say that because I laughed because I was like, okay, All right, so now these are, you know, just additional or supplemental forms is what they're referring to them as, okay? But the functional behavior assessment form, as you guys can see, huge changes. We have not gotten to this form yet. SF2, which is used to be OP2, the behavior intervention plan, lots of changes to that. I do know the behavior piece is becoming a hot subject with ODE and the Office of Exceptional Children. They know it's needed, especially BCBAs, huge thing that's falling there. And then the future planning form has been basically pulled out and they're making changes to it. Used to be the OP4, which was the agreement to waive reevaluation. That is being changed. I know. SF4, which used to be the parent consent, is going to be changed now. What we did see is, I believe it was the IEP. They were changing, they want to change the order, the numbers of how they go, so that, you know, LRE was not going to be in the same spot. I was like, oh boy. But a lot of these changes are just, some are movement, some are renaming, some are breaking them out. So we got an SP or SF5, which is a team member excusal. They're taking the parent or guardian off of there and they just want it to be a team member. So there's a lot of little things that you're going to see. A lot of these we're still going to go through these meetings. These are the forms that are related to parents, which are the SF7 and SF9. I believe all in all, there's 20 forms that they're going to be modifying. So summary of performance, some of this stuff is good. SF8B, which is a packet, was formerly OPA 8, which is new. This form is huge. So these are all additions, you know, summary of performance packet looks like it's going to be changing a little bit. Once again, they are also looking at updating progress reports. A big part of the progress report that they're looking at changing, we got them to confirm that they're looking at taking away benchmarks. It would just be objectives. So, you know, we're waiting to kind of hear that verbiage, but I think that they mean objectives could be benchmarks, however you come to that amount. It doesn't have to be called a benchmark or objective, is what it looked like. And then, as you can see, the transition progress report, huge changes there, huge. Okay, so those are things that they're looking at doing a lot. Okay, like I said, if you guys have any questions about the forms, have an opinion of the forms, want to state your opinion, you are more than welcome to submit a survey on your part, but we are also very happy to take your input and submit it for you and be like, yeah, this is what we think. Okay, all right. We do have a new guide to parents' rights in special education available. This was sent out to everyone. If you don't have it, you needed to know that it's available. So don't copy those and leave them on the desk for the meetings. This document is available in English as well as 20 other languages. If you need any support getting it, you can click this link in the PowerPoint I'll send you to get the information. Once you do get the information, you have it, like I said, in 20 languages. Recently, Google Translator figured out how to do Arabic, so it from right to left. So now you're going to be able to see more documents in Arabic, which is kind of cool. And this document does not have to be used this school year. However, it's going to be required in 25-26. Okay, so just want to make sure that you guys are all aware of that, and that's what's going to be happening. So what we're going to talk about real quick is the fact that special services is going to be sunset. Okay, so the changes in the form and SPS being sunset, it will be done by June 30th, 2026. We currently have 31 districts that need to be converted. 16 still need scheduled. So if you are not scheduled, we need you to reach out to Leslie or myself so that we can get you on the calendar. We are not going to be able to do any more conversions until November because we are booked. If you've already booked, you're not going till after November. Okay, but I want to tell you that to help districts plan accordingly, Frontline said, and I quote, the special ed software will enter an unsupported mode for the 25-26 school year. During this period, no updates will be made or provided. Only unexpected major defects will be addressed. Okay? So I think we're okay with forms. I think the system's limping along. I think we're going to be okay, but I highly recommend that we get you on the schedule. Okay? And getting you on the schedule, these are the districts that still need to declare what they want to do. Once we know exactly what everybody on this sheet wants to do, then we'll be in good shape. Okay. The thing about doing this conversion is when we do the conversion to same goal, the biggest highlight is the training. The training takes an hour. We have a PowerPoint presentation where we can train your districts in an hour. Okay. It's finding that time to train your districts. Okay. So with that being said, I just want to go over kind of a couple features of same goal for those that are on this call. If you're going to be moving over and we've already done this few with you, great. Maybe you'll pick up something new. If you aren't ready yet, that's fine too. If you would like a private demo, we are still available to do that. So we're trying to end the school year, get everybody scheduled, do the demos, get everybody ready, roll up to next year. So it's a lot. So let's see what we can get you guys scheduled. But some of the things that I did want to talk about are the features that you're getting. When you do move to same goal, you have a lot of features, including RIMPs, RTI tracking. You have a calendar view after you've been on a year. You do have data validation, which means you don't have any errors. You no longer have the SPS summary report because it doesn't exist in real life. I explained that. You do get data collection sheets, which are a price list for your progress reports. And you also have progress monitoring charts. Okay. So I was not a believer. I am a 100% believer. Even before I knew the other one was sunsetting, the features that you get in here are just absolutely amazing. They just really are. And the system works very, very well. But I do want to tell you that there's a couple things that are going to happen that are ugly. And those things that are ugly are you have to wait every night. So a new student rolls in, we have to let them nightly roll into same goal. Okay. So that's something that happens every night. The other thing is your documents are not grouped. So your staff is used to opening an IEP and getting the prior notice and the invite and the consent, all that good stuff comes in together. The documents in same goal are not grouped. So it's a training issue. Your staff needs to add those. Honestly, I thought that would be a huge thing. It's a nothing. Nobody has a problem with it. The other thing is the no gradebook icon link. So right now, because it's not in the suite, you would lose that icon that comes in, and that's a huge thing. But never fear, same goal is working with Frontline to put an icon. So we know that that's a top priority for them. It's something we'll discuss at the same goal meeting with after this at 10 o'clock. And because that you have that. If that is a concern for you, we are able to locate that or upload that little body right there that gives a disability alert. That alert can then go into the same goal or goes into the grade book and then, can show the teachers they need to go into same goal. But I feel very confident that we're going to get a link. And then the last thing that is always a problem when we move everybody over to same goal, we have to close all open documents. So I can't get your PDFs installed unless I download them. And I can only download them if they're completed. So that's why we are not doing any more suggested conversions until after November. We have a couple that are scheduled for October. We need to get through federal child count. We need to complete things. There's progress reports that need to be completed and opened, and it's a transition piece. Okay, so trust Leslie and I when we say this, we've got this down to a science. The next thing that I want to say about same goal is at the top right hand corner of this first slide on the left, you'll see it says all changes saved. I have yet, I'm knocking on wood, I have yet to have a district say that their stuff isn't saving when the staff is not connected to the internet. You got to be connected to the internet, but once you do, it saves, and it saves great. And that all changes saved that you see there, that was not something that they stole from Frontline. Frontline actually kind of stole that. Okay, so saving works great. Staff has great savings as long as they're connected to the internet. I have had 2 incidents where somebody said things weren't saved. Same Goal actually has built into the program where we can go in and run diagnostics on their computer and find out what the issue is. And in both situations, they weren't connected to the internet. But like I said, we have 153 districts. We now have over 115 on Same Goal, and we do not have the saving issues that we have now. Okay. The other thing is the banks and store text. That is something that when you do the conversion, you will want to move over your banks and store text. We'll get the admins in so that they can do that. But adding district banks is very easy in Same Goal. It's very easy to manage, and users, it's very easy for them to manage. It also supports name and gender pronoun substitutions. So it looks exactly what's in your student information and then can pull that information in, which is fantastic. The next thing that works great in Same Goal is the remote electronic signatures. And this piece is awesome. And when I say with that, you can share with a parent or guardian. Once you do, you click on the email, it populates the email that's in the parent contact screen. It will go ahead and send that to them electronically. They will get an email with a link. Once the document's completed, that email link doesn't work anymore. It's really, really nice. And I'll be honest with you, you can also share your progress reports with them if you want to electronically, which is pretty great. The other things, big features that you're going to get is something called print views. This is something I touched on a couple minutes ago, but you can have your data collection form, you have your summary form that you had before, but you also have clipboard sheets, which takes your goals and objectives and lets you basically have a data collection form. So you can take your goals and objectives, record the information when you recorded it. It's fantastic. A lot of people walk around with binders with their, they have to type in the goals and objectives to get this to go. Your staff can print this off. And because there's a limited amount of uploads into Same Goal, they can just upload these to the progress reports. And then when they print off those progress reports, if they want to add those additional sheets on, they can. But it basically gives them a spot to show their staff's work, their students' work that the staff collected. The other thing is it has validate documents. So it will not let you complete a document because your staff will do all the completing of documents in Same Goal. It will not let you complete a document if there's an error. So the first thing is probably about 60%, I think, of the errors that we get in SPS refresh is because there's an error with the documents. We then go to try to sync it. We don't know until we go to put it in SIS that we have that warning. In Same Goal, it pretty much takes away that element, which is amazing. Okay, so since that is taken away, we have this validate documents. With that, if you do have an error, you can toggle back and forth. I did work with the district recently that we converted over. The gentleman called me. He's like, I can't understand. I've got these errors. We went through them. He typed in the date 0025. It wouldn't let him go forward. It knew that he had a date that was wrong. It wouldn't let him go forward. He missed a spot. It said to him, hey, you got to put this in. He had 5 errors. 4 of them, I think, were dates. And one was he missed something. He was like, oh, he's like, well, I really can't, I can't mess this up. This is pretty cool. And I was like, yeah. Haven't heard back from him. I think he's surviving. So that's kind of my thing. He seemed good. I like to tell them at the training, we come out, we train you, you're all antsy, we get you guys going, and then we never hear from you. That's why I was going to be eating bonbons, but now we're not. So the next thing that you get in Same Goal is version history, depending on what version of or edition of Same Goal that you get. You can go back and look at the version history, but I like to tell everybody when we do the training that there is no lying in Same Goal. The reason why is because this version history will legitimately date and timestamp every active habit. When I go in a document, you see my name. When you go in a document, you see your name. When staff goes in a document, you see their name. When a parent gets an email, you see the parent's email. It is so smart. So it takes away that whole thing about who did what, when, where, why. You can see it right there. And that is definitely a highlight of the program. You also have student district to district sharing. We like to call it that because sharing is caring in same goal. That's kind of a thing. But district to district sharing, 97% of the state of Ohio uses same goal. So with that being done, with 97% of the state using it, a lot of your districts, you're going to be able to transfer the documents back and forth. Very, very helpful when you get these new students moving in this fall. If I did ask Same Goal to supply us with a list of districts using Same Goal, and they laughingly said it might be easier for us to supply a list that does not. And they are really true. So I'm trying to work on a directory. It's kind of like pulling 19th, but I'll get it. But that's one of the things we wanted to talk about. We also wanted to make sure that you SPS users knew that there's over 50 reports in Same Goal. So currently you have 2 reports in SPS. They're both kind of broken. They work, but they're limping. But in Same Goal, you have over 50 reports. Not only do you have over 50 reports, you're able to actually give report access to users so that they can run their own reports, which is very, very helpful. So what we kind of want to just touch on real quick, you're going to have to do something. You're going to have to do something by June. When you decide that you're ready to do something, you just need to let Leslie or I know. We'll get that date on our calendar that we're going to do that. We will request the Same Goal district to be created. Once it is, we'll give admins access, start your security settings. Leslie and I have done over 70 of these. We are very good about collecting your security settings, setting up your grade book or setting up your Same Goal the way we feel with your users that's similar to what you have now. We will send you a list of users for you to confirm that everything is set. We will upload all of your completed PDF documents from that point so that you at least have some old data in there. We'll schedule your training, go out and do your training for your staff. We are happy to do multiple trainings, one huge training, multiple days, whatever you need, and then set some time to meet with your staff after to ask any questions. I'll be very honest with you. I just did a district the end of March. I had Friday set as a date to go out and answer any questions that they had. And they sent me an email and said they don't think it's necessary, that they're in great shape. So I think our training is pretty good. After we get done with the training, then we'll load your user access. Okay. I do not give your users access to Same Goal before we do the training because I don't need to answer their questions. I need them to hear me and then I'll answer their questions. We do really good with that. When we do assign your bulk users, if you want to, we can do single sign-on through Google and we can just do that from the get-go, which is really helpful. And then if you're going to use like a platform like Mini Orange or something like that, which you guys probably don't know, but we have a list, that's Leslie's baby. But we have that list. We can get your users access the way that you want them to. And then of course, after that, we're continued support. So we're your support. We tell them it's not the admin's responsibility to know how to use Same Goal. We will teach you as you go, but the questions pretty much come. Okay. So the biggest part of doing that conversion is you guys just saying, hey, this is the date that I have to train my staff. So if you're not set up, you need to let us know what days you look like and we'll go ahead and get ready with that. Okay. At this point, does anybody have any questions about Same Goal that they want to air out or any questions you guys want to ask? If you guys are good, I'm good. All right, let's talk about FTE, full-time equivalent. This is my favorite. I am an FTVville now. I am absolutely an FTVville. So full-time equivalent is that FTE report. It's called an FTE adjustment that your EMIS coordinator will give you. When they give you that, it is going to have an adjustment called an FT0005, which is disability no IEP. What that means is you have a student with a disability code that does not have an IEP in place. This might mean that we need to add an NIEP. This might mean that the document needs to be completed. This might mean it's a timing thing. It's just one of those things we have to look at. Anytime you're losing or you have an error with the disability no IEP on your FTE, you are not getting funding. Okay, simple. You are not getting that special education money. And that is weighted. and we want to make sure that we get that money. So if you have any questions about that, I highly recommend that you attend an open lab so that we can sit and go through your FTE. If you call me on the fly and ask me to look at it, I can look at it, but I don't have time to look at everything on the fly on the phone. So I need you guys to be proactive with your EMIS people and be like, hey, I need an FTE looked at. I need to look at my FTE. I need to be accountable. Okay. What we do here at Neonet and what we have recommended with our EMIS team is that you create a Google Doc, you pop this in with your errors, and then we can kind of help you work through those errors, okay? But the big thing is there's also a report called an FTE detail that you can run to see how many kids you're collecting special ed on, to also double check to make sure that you're getting all of your FTE for those kids, okay? You might have a kid that has a disability condition that maybe 2 years ago, they weren't reported, the FTE is still not picking it up, and those are the things that we need to look at. The big kicker here is I need you to be done looking at your FTE by June 20th, okay? And I mean that for the special ed people. And the reason why is we would like you to have all of your ducks in a row by June 20th. That means your staff has completed things, everything's done. Because on June 30th, that's when EMIS is done technically. And we want to give those EMIS people 10 days to check off and go, hey, my special ed looks done. Yes, do you special ed people have time? Yeah, but we want you to be done by June 20th. I want to also let you guys know that that last week in June, I'm going on vacation. I lost vacation, I had self-vacation. I know it's a crime, but I'm gonna take vacation. So good luck with that FTE if I'm not here, because I do a lot, okay? So I want you to be done by the 20th, if at all possible, with your FTE. Like I said, join an open lab down at Heartland. They're gonna have an open lab down at Heartland. They'll have some EMIS people there. Leslie's gonna get really, really good at this, and we're really gonna try to work together. So by Friday, June 20th, I want your FTEs done, please. I did last year have 2 people call me in July, because yes, in the EMIS world, they have until I think like the 17th of July or something like that to fix stuff. Yeah, July's bad for me, guys. We have conversions, we have to get your FTE done, and then Leslie and I need July to kind of like get our ducks in a row before August starts, and then that moves over. So please don't wait till last minute on this. I'm being nice, really. The other thing that we ask you to look at as a person of special ed is your EMIS cross-check. If you do not have EMIS cross-check as a district, it is our recommendation that you request EMIS cross-check demo. We can do one of those. We can find you money just in special ed to pay for this program, okay? And one of the things that EMIS cross-check does do, I will pull out these 7 categories. When I pull out these 7 categories, I think that these ones are the most important. I will put them on the other tab. So as you can see on this bottom right image, is I do the FTE and then the cross-check. So I kind of look at these in tandem to see where we're at and look for errors. One is expired ETRs. So sometimes it will pick up expired ETRs from 2022, which I found, which means you didn't have them on your FTE, you weren't getting the money for them, okay? Another one is the FD disability and the ETR disability don't match. Because we do SYI, we roll stuff up, there's some kids that get lost. So you might have had a kid that had an 05 disability condition, which is speech, and they might be a number 10 SLD, and if that's the case, then that's a difference in funding and you lost that difference in money. So that's another thing that pops up on cross-check that we want to keep an eye on. The next one is the one with the money sign, that there's an IEP, but you don't have a disability. And believe it or not, that happens more than I can even count, okay? So that's one of those things that we kind of want to keep an eye on. So those 3 with the dollars are enough to pay for this program, okay? But the other things on cross-check that we need to look at are your disabilities with no IEPs. And those are going to be students that don't even attend your district that we need to go get a copy of their IEP. Back in the day, we didn't have to worry about that. But if you put a student in your system, you need to have the documentation to back it up. That's just the rules of the world. The other one is extended school year, no program code. Those are gonna be those ESY kiddos that, those are gonna be those ESY kiddos that we now have to put a code in. So if you put a Y in, you cannot no longer have that asterisk, but if you put a Y in, then we need to supply a code for that kiddo. This is a quick look to say, hey, because nobody in this room really is responsible to put those code, to decide what code, but can go, hey, somebody needs to give me that code, okay? The next one is any NIEP date is before the first day of school. So if we are adding those NIEPs, it's maybe like we were putting in August 1st, but school started August 17th. We need to adjust those NIEP dates to clean these up. And then what I've been seeing a lot of is an initial ETR with no referral or consent dates. So that's one of those things that we have to go in and we have to fix. So I know this is a lot to put on you guys. I want to make sure though that you guys understand that this is imperative. This is funding. This is not a little situation that we need to take lightly. This is going to be our spring cleanup, and then we're going to rest, and then we're going to come back in October, and we're going to start federal child count. So the cleaner we are now, and it will be a federal child count. The cleaner will be when we start FTE next January. Okay. Anybody have any questions about cross-check or the FTE? Because those are two big uses. I'm sorry. I sound like a heavy, but this always stresses me out in June. It really stresses me out. Alrighty. Hang on a minute. I guess I must have clicked it. There you go. All right, Leslie, it's your show, girlfriend.
Okay, we did have a question about the open lab schedule, and that is what we are talking about next. So on your slide right now, you will see the open lab schedule for the Falls location, Cuyahoga Falls. So these are the open labs that are coming up in the next several months. So you can sign up for these on our website, and you can let Bethany know that you are coming to that location, and you can let her know what you're coming for. That way she's a little prepared. She knows what you're coming for. She has the handouts and everything that you need or whatever you guys need to work on. You'll also notice that we have the save the date for the Fall Special Services Roundtable. It is already October 1st. We don't want to wish your summer away, but just put that on your calendars so you know that that is coming up October 1st. On the next slide, it shows our Heartland location open labs. So same thing if you are down in this area. Here are our open labs. I will be available these days. You can sign up on the website. Same thing as I said for Bethany's. Let me know why you're coming. That way we can prepare for what we need to talk about. A lot of, like Bethany said, FTE, if you want to talk about same goal, if you're not on same goal yet and you have some fears and you just want to schedule a time just to chat about that, that's what these open lab times are for. Also, just let us know if you need any customized training, if you need things for your district in special services or same goal, don't hesitate to reach out to us to let us know what you need. Also, we are getting a new event scheduler soon. So when you sign up on our website, it will look a little bit different. Hopefully better. So Bethany and I haven't got to see it all quite yet, but it is coming. So some of these dates you may not see out on the current event scheduler yet. We're told here in the next couple days, next week, we should have that. So then those fall dates, August dates will be out there as well. But I believe everything through July is on our current event scheduler. Okay, if anybody has any questions, I'm sure Bethany and I have the answers, so you can ask away. And if not, I will let Bethany close up for you.
Oh, thank you. This is it, guys. I told Denise Morale this was it. She knew it was it. So this was very, very exciting. So moving forward, we'll have 3 trainings or meetings like this next year. They will be called Special Services, and we will talk all things same goal because there's no reason to double dip anymore. Okay. If you don't have any questions, I'm going to go ahead and X out of here. We will start in 12 minutes. We'll go ahead and start same goal. If you are converting to same goal next year, I highly recommend that you stay on because there's all kinds of good stuff going on. that slide presentation is ginormous. And we will see you shortly.
tell you what the problem was, but I forgot he would be coming in here, but yeah, let's.
It's 10 o'clock. Let me know when you're ready, Bethany.
Are we ready? I'm totally ready. Hang on, let me do this. I think I can continue. I'm gonna pause stop the recording, and then I'm gonna